So this thing happened. I was talking online to a friend of my father. My father would have been 83 years old had he lived to see today. But my father's friend, who was a schoolmate, is about the same age as my father. And he was trying to think of the way to translate the debt collector into Hebrew, and he said Goveh HaMisim. Well, Goveh HaMisim is not the debt collector, it's the tax collector. That would be totally different. So I corrected him and I said, no, because taxation is theft and the debt collector is a good guy and he collects real debts. And then my father's friend said, your father used to say that the draft, forcing people into military service, that was slavery. But really, what can countries do? I mean, they have to defend themselves. So what can they do? Do you have an idea about that? Yeah, I have an idea about that. I wrote a whole novel called Theodosia and the Pirates to explain that idea. I also wrote an article, a nonfiction article, which is published on pubwages.com, and the article is called Who Should Pay for Waging War? Whenever any country comes into being, and usually illegal as so, just the way the United States came into being by all sorts of militiamen serving against the British, the militiamen weren't drafted. They chose to serve because it was in their best interest to do so. And much more recently, in the country that my father's friend lives in, Israel, there were people who were serving in a secret military while the British were ruling over them. So there were people in Etzel, there were people in Lehi, there were people in the Palmach, and I'm not sure, but I think even the Haganah, which ended up being, the national state armed forces, started out as being a voluntary thing. And I've had this conversation with so many people. And people say, yeah, it's bad, but if we didn't draft people, if we didn't force them to serve, if we didn't use taxation to pay for the military, nothing would ever get done and we would be destroyed. Well, is that how it all started? And if it didn't start out that way, why do you have to nationalize the army when it was private before? The United States Constitution makes provision for privateers. It makes provision for not a standing army, but a militia that is called as necessary. Read my article, Who Should Pay for Waging War? Read my novel, Theodosia and the Pirates, which comes in 2 parts and is based on the military career of Jean Lafitte, which saved the United States but was not legal and was not acceptable to the powers that be. Is there another way for us to protect our country? There is. So, that's my answer. I'm very grateful to my father's friend who lives in Jerusalem for asking me this question because nobody has asked it very recently, and I forgot that I was supposed to be constantly repeating the answer until everybody got it. Thank you.